Okay, so today we're just going to be talking about 5 different movies that I watched recently. I'm going to try to keep each review about a minute to a minute and a half long, as I feel like my reviews recently have been going a little too long. So hopefully this video will be about 10 minutes max. This list is in no particular order. Well, technically it isn't in order. It's just the order from the least recent to the most recent movie that I watched. But all of them are good enough for me to recommend them to you. So we're just going to be starting off with number 5, which was Final Destination Bloodlines. So this movie is actually still out in theaters as of recording this. To preface, I have never watched a Final Destination movie in full prior to this. It's a Final Destination movie, so I knew exactly what I was getting into. I knew exactly what to expect, and I'm glad to say that it is exactly what I expected in the most positive way that I could mean it. The Final Destination Bloodlines actually follows a family that obviously gets cursed by death after one of their relatives stops the death of a bunch of people, which by the way was a really good opening scene. I really liked how creative the death was. Yeah, so each death was actually really entertaining, but surprisingly the characters and the family that we follow was also pretty entertaining. For a Final Destination movie, I mean. Each character in the movie has at least some sort of charm and depth to them. It's not just a one-dimensional person that we followed and we're just waiting for them to die. Although when they do die, it is very satisfying. Yeah, so there was actually surprisingly good character development in these characters. I would say there's one death in particular that I feel like was a little over the top and a little too extreme. I feel like that could have been avoided if they just had a small bit of awareness, situational awareness. Other than that, yeah, it was pretty fun. Yeah, Final Destination Bloodlines. So the next movie I want to talk about is Heat. Okay, so the movie stars Al Pacino as a detective and Robert De Niro as this master heist man, I guess, for lack of a better word. And so basically the movie is 3 hours long, and it's just a cat and mouse game of Al Pacino trying to catch Robert De Niro as they plan to go on these separate heists, or as he plans to go on these heists. I will say Robert De Niro and Al Pacino's acting both was absolutely incredible. The movie being 3 hours long, I thought this movie was going to go on for a little too long. I thought it was just going to be a slow burn. And the movie does take its time in the first half, setting up all these characters, but I do have to say that the way the story evolves and the way it concludes and the way it ties up all of the ends first explored in the first half was really satisfying. So although it does take its time, I think it was really, the payoff was worth it. Yeah, like I said, Al Pacino and Robert De Niro's acting alone was just worth the time investment. Of course, the famous bank heist scene was, it was just incredible. The sound design of the guns was also incredible. And the movie was super tense all the way until the very final scene of the movie. Yeah, like up to the final scene of the movie, you have no idea who's going to win between the two. And yeah, I can see why this movie was super influential on crime dramas after this movie was released. Yeah, you can watch this one on Netflix. Okay, so for number 3 is The Wild Robot. So The Wild Robot is a movie that came out last year, but I sadly never got to watch it in theaters, so I watched it on Netflix as it just came out. And yeah, this is one of the best family movies that I've seen since probably Inside Out 2. So the premise is that Lupita Nyong'o, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, but she voices the robot, obviously, and she is stranded on this island in this wilderness, like this forest. She takes care of this duckling. Was it a duck or a goose? I don't remember which one. It was a little bird, and yeah, the robot raises the little bird as its child. And there are some really great scenes, some really great themes, There's some really great themes of parenthood. There's some great themes of taking care of the environment. I didn't even mention this. The movie is just absolutely incredible looking. This might be a genuine 10 out of 10 animation wise. Every single scene has just so much style and art to it. Really great eye candy. Just the visual aspect of this movie alone. Around the final, the third act of this movie, it kind of gets a little goofy. But for a kids movie, this movie is still really worth the time. Both kids and parents will get just as much enjoyment out of this movie. And I think this is some of the best animation that we've seen recently. So yeah. The Wild Robot is really good, and I recommend you check that one out too, also on Netflix. So number 2 is Napoleon Dynamite. Surprising that I've never watched this movie before, but yeah, so Napoleon Dynamite is an indie film released in 2004, and it's about this kid named Napoleon Dynamite who lives in a small town in Idaho. What's really surprising to me about this movie is that this movie pretty much has no plot. It's purely just an hour and 30 minutes of just different things happening involving Napoleon. This movie has this sort of charm that just I don't think can be replicated in this day and age. This movie is truly one of its kind. I don't think this movie can be made today anymore. But yeah, it was really entertaining. Napoleon as a character is kind of funny because you feel bad for him as he gets bullied throughout this movie, but you also kind of laugh at him when it does happen because he is also kind of like a loser in a sense. His brother or brother-in-law, Blip, his character development throughout the movie is also kind of funny too, the way it ends. And Napoleon's friendship with both Pedro and Deb was also kind of wholesome in a sense. And of course, the final famous dance scene at the end, even just like the sort of little skits and little jokes throughout the entire movie is just really great. And I'm surprised how funny this movie was for, I mean, for being a PG movie and with it being an indie movie. It was produced for I think like $400,000 at the time. You can really tell and you can really feel that, but it also adds to the charm of this movie. Yeah, this movie was a great time. This was really fun. I'm glad I finally watched it now. I mean, there's so many references that I've heard about Napoleon involving Napoleon Dynamite that I just never understood until now. And I'm glad I finally get to understand it. And yeah, this movie is really fun. Number one, the final movie, is Goodfellas, directed by Martin Scorsese. Also stars Robert De Niro, but also stars Joe Pesci. It's basically just the story of this person named Henry who gets involved into the world of the Italian mob and just his life before, during, and after it. I mean, this movie is almost sort of legendary in a sense. It's one of those, like, when you talk about gangster movies, like, this is one of those that are up there, even like The Godfather and all that. And yeah, I mean, this movie was dark, it was brutal. You really get to feel the sense of dirtiness that's in the crime world. Once again, Robert De Niro's acting is incredible in this movie. Joe Pesci as well, also, his performance is incredible. He delivers this really obnoxious and annoying gangster as we follow Henry throughout his childhood and into the adult life, when he joins the mob. Just feel this sense of dread as you don't know what's going to happen with any of these characters. I mean, these characters just, I mean, they're alive and then they're dead the next. And there's also so much tension in all of the scenes. You feel this sense of dread as you don't know who's going to live and who's going to die by the end. I would describe this movie as not a movie that you watch for fun per se, but you kind of just watch it to appreciate the story that it's telling, but then never watch it again. And I mean that in the nicest way sense. I don't know where you can watch this because as of recording this, it's leaving Netflix on the 31st, so might have to find a different streaming platform. But yeah, that's Goodfellas. That's it for my top 5 list. Again, not in any order, just 5 random movies that I watched recently that I think you should watch. Check all of these movies out. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any movie recommendations of your own, please leave a comment down below and I'll try to watch it. Leave a comment down below about what you thought about this video, and I'll see you guys later.